According to Zillow's Observed Rent Index, the median rent in the US jumped 1.8% from May to June and grew a huge 7% year over year, which is the highest growth rate since Zillow started tracking this data back in 2015. It's also worth noticing that a lot of this growth has come recently, with rents rising over 5% just since March. The median rent in the US now sits at just about $1,800 per month, which I know maybe I'm just getting old, but that sounds like a whole lot to me. Now, today we're going to talk about 3 reasons why rent is going up and what this means for real estate investors. My name is Dave Meyer. I'm the Vice President of Data and Analytics at BiggerPockets, and each week on this show, I break down economic and housing market news to help investors of all experience levels make sense of what's going on right now. So if you like this video, I always appreciate a humble thumbs up and invite you to subscribe to the BiggerPockets YouTube channel, where you can get tons more information about how to become a successful real estate investor. With that said, let's talk about these 3 reasons why rent is growing so quickly right now. First and foremost is inflation. So I'm not sure if you heard, but if you follow really any sort of news, you probably have heard that inflation is up right now. And although it's still unclear if this inflationary period is temporary, maybe it's influenced by a lot of these supply chain issues and other weirdness that is happening because of, emerging from a pandemic. But for now, according to the Consumer Price Index, inflation is up by about 5% year over year. Inflation is really just a fancy term for prices going up. And right now, prices are increasing across many sectors of the economy, and rent is really no different. When prices go up, so does rent. So it's not surprising to see rents rise during an inflationary period. The second reason is there is a huge housing shortage in the United States. According to Moody's Analytics, there are currently less houses for rent and for sale right now than at any other time in the last 30 years. We're not going to get into the full details of that here, but following the Great Recession, new home construction just never recovered. That's the basics of it. So for the last 12-ish years, the US construction industry has not kept pace with demand, the amount of houses we need. And so we find ourselves in a huge housing shortage. So of course, this is one of the primary reasons housing prices are going through the roof, but the same applies to rent as well. When there is lower supply of rental housing and demand stays constant, or demand is probably even going up, prices are going to rise. The last reason rent could be going up is a little bit more speculative. I don't have a ton of data to support this idea, but I thought I'd share it anyway, and that is landlord behavior. The last year has just been weird for landlords and real estate investors, and in many cases, costs have gone up. For existing landlords, the eviction moratorium and other challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic raised expenses, and now they are trying to recoup their losses by raising rents. For new landlords, prices have been skyrocketing, which in many cases raises the landlord's costs. Like when a house costs more, your mortgage is going to cost more, and that is going to raise your costs. Now, of course, mortgages are dirt cheap right now, which definitely offsets some of those financing costs, but cash flow is absolutely getting squeezed because housing prices are running up. Now, maybe landlords are passing these additional costs on to their tenants, and that is another reason rents go up. Now, again, I don't have data to support these last 2 ideas, and yes, it is just another form of inflation, but I felt it was worth mentioning given what we're talking about today. So rent is rising, which will be welcome news for many real estate investors, but I just want to point out that it is not rising as fast as property prices. As we said earlier, rents grew 7% year over year, while housing prices grew 25% year over year. So if this trend continues, the cash flow prospects of new rental property investments are actually going to continue to decline, even though rent is going up. Until rent growth outpaces property value growth, we're not likely to see an environment where a ton of cash flowing properties come on the market. In my opinion, if you're a prospective investor and you can find cash flowing deals where the numbers work, you may want to lock it in right now, because buying conditions, in my opinion at least, are not likely to improve, at least in the coming months. Plus, if it's cash flowing now and rents continue to rise, your cash flow will grow over time while your biggest expense, your mortgage, stays the same, right? You can lock in your mortgage right now, and that payment is always going to stay the same price. And if rents keep growing at 7%, even if housing prices are growing faster, you have locked in your mortgage payment, and rents will continue to grow and improve your cash flow over time. That is my general advice. I also wanted to share one other quick thing before I go, an update on forbearance numbers, as we've been talking a lot about those recently. And the most data just came out, and that data shows that the number of borrowers in forbearance has dropped yet again, this time a huge amount, down to 3.5% of all loans. And that leaves an estimated 1.75 million loans still in forbearance, which is down from 2 million just like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I spent pretty much the entire show talking about the possibility of foreclosure crisis, and the risks have already gone since then. This data is just honestly more evidence that a huge glut of foreclosures coming on the market and tanking prices is increasingly unlikely. All right, that's all the news I got for you this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dave Meyer with BiggerPockets, and I'll see you all next week.